What is up, wrestling fans? Welcome to another Pay-Per-Viewpoint edition of the Smark Out Moment Smack Talk podcast. I am your host, as always, Tony Mango, and joining me, as always, are Robert D. Felice.
Blood money, yeah.
And Callum Wiggins.
From beautiful Jeddah in parts unknown.
We are talking Super ShowDown today, if you can't tell already. The 2019 event without the hyphen and with a capital D, and that's how they're going to differentiate that. We are going to be breaking down the card top to bottom, bottom to top. There is no top, there is no bottom. I don't know where I'm going with this, but it'll stop at some point, and we are going to go into what our thoughts for the matches are, our predictions for what's going to happen, spoilers, and anything else that we got going on with that. And we encourage you to do the same and chime in with your thoughts on the comments below. So go ahead and do that on YouTube. And while you're doing that, hit that subscribe button and ring that little bell for notifications. Follow us on Facebook and Twitter at Smark Out Moment, and I'll give some more plugs in a few minutes or so. But first things first. The Saudi Arabia shows, we have 2 of them in the bank already. Greatest Royal Rumble, Crown Jewel. Not the best to kind of continue its legacy on, but how are you guys feeling now that time's gone by a little bit? That the name of the show's Super ShowDown. It's something that we had kind of piggybacked off of last year with the Australian show. What do you think? Is this going to be like every international show is going to be called the Super ShowDown, or later on this year are we going to get a different name that isn't Super ShowDown? Just the name itself, what are you thinking?
Well, initially it was going to be called Sands of Time, or at least that was the rumored name. I like the Super ShowDown name if you're only going to do it once a year and it's international, it's a different environment. But if the next Saudi Arabian show in November or whatever is Super ShowDown, Riyadh instead of Jeddah, then I don't like it as much.
I think the name is just a way of the fact they did have another name in mind and decided that wasn't going to go down too well. So they rushed to create another one and decided to just piggyback on an old idea.
I like the Sands of Time name, though.
No, it would have been really...
I would have liked...
been a really bad idea.
I would have liked something like that if they would have had predominantly all just Triple H, Goldberg, that kind of thing, because then it would be like, it actually is like Sands of Time, like older wrestlers and stuff. But
I think it kind of just embodies the idea of, wow, we're going to a place that's so behind the times.
It does kind of read a little bit as like, let's name it something based off of the area, you know, like.
Yeah, and this place is, and the Super ShowDown name is just like generically fine.
Yeah,
it's like you could apply it to literally anywhere. I don't know whether they'll end up using it again, but they need to come up with something which doesn't fall into their stereotypes of like, oh, we'll pair the Japanese guy with another Japanese guy or something like that. Like, they need to think of something that's a little more original.
I'd be cool with Crown Jewel coming back and making it to where every year it's Super ShowDown and Crown Jewel instead of making new names.
Well, I'd kind of prefer they never went back. That's kind of my attitude always going into this, and it's making me feel worse and worse with each show that they're still there.
Oh, it's what, a 5-year deal?
10-year deal.
I thought it was a 5-year deal for 10 events, 2 a year.
No, it's a 10-year deal with 20 events.
Oof. 10 years. Wow.
Yep. So basically we have 9 more years of this.
That's crazy. That's absolutely crazy. All right, I was thinking that we're like halfway done almost.
I mean, I'm kind of hoping that AEW buys them out by that point. but
how is that Saudi money?
But it's just a really like loathsome situation. Like, we're still gonna watch it, and it's not so bad in the sense that what Saudi Arabia is and the way they behave is clearly tremendously behind the times and offensive in so many different ways. But you can't really blame WWE for chasing the money too much. They are a business after all. But I'm probably going to have to take the step this time of having to give money to charity to make myself feel better.
All right, shout out the charity.
Because otherwise I'm just going to feel dirty. I was going to give some money to Sami Zayn's Syrian hospital.
Hell yeah, good for you, man.
Because he's not going to be on the show. so I feel good supporting him.
Yeah, so Sami Zayn's not going to be on the show for that reason. Kevin Owens isn't going to be on the show. I would assume, at least in part, of being like, I'm going to support my friend. It seems like we're not going to get Daniel Bryan. It seems like we're not going to get a handful of people here and there. And we don't really know exactly who isn't going to be a part of it yet, because one of the matches is something that could literally include pretty much anybody. And they've made it a point to not say anybody but 4 people that are in the 50-man battle royal. So in any regards, it's going to be like, all right, well, who knows what's going to happen, who's going to pop up and stuff. But one thing that's been getting a lot of attention today is the idea that Natalya and potentially Alexa Bliss might be wrestling. I don't buy into it. I'm going to be very much in that camp of I'll believe it when I see it. But do you guys think that we're going to get anything with women competing?
They're not having them fly over for PR purposes.
I think that that's the case.
It'll be interesting to see.
I mean, it's what they wanted to do. If we're going to believe what their reasons were for going, was to try and instill change and get a women's match to happen in Saudi Arabia. But so I think if there's the option for them to do it, then they want to do it. But well, again, just kind of wait and see. Really, it'll just be a case of it'll be interesting to see the attire, obviously, because they've had matches in Middle East areas before, where Sasha Banks had a match with Alexa Bliss, and they're just covered from from the neck down completely. So
we know that Alexa Bliss, because for context, the rumor was months ago they were thinking Natalya and Nia Jax. Now Natalya's gear already has her pretty covered up, so would Nia's, and Alexa Bliss would make a perfect choice for a replacement because she's got that gear ready to go.
Yeah, from the previous one with Sasha. But at the same time, it's like, why wouldn't they have announced this? Why wouldn't they have wanted to have that press?
Maybe it was a late breaking, like, you know what? We're going to add this to the show, and we've been trying to get this, and maybe they got the green light last second. We could always see a press release come out tomorrow or something.
Yeah, for context, by the way, everybody, it's about 4 o'clock on Wednesday afternoon when we're recording this, so if this comes up a little bit later and they've already announced something, then at least as far as right now, they haven't. So some different people are reporting on it. It's a possibility. I will believe it when I see it, and I think that people shouldn't get their hopes up, but if they are able to do that, then that's fantastic. And already, I'll tell you, it's going to be one of the highlights, even if the match is awful, because it'll just be like, hey, good, progress,
And if that match does happen like that, Natalya, Alexa Bliss, I think Alexa Bliss wins.
I think Natty wins.
They'll probably go with Alexa because she does have a title shot coming down the line.
See, I don't think that they would book it that way, though. I think that they would book it where they would say, who do we want to be the person who gets this honor of winning the first match that's like that? And there is a little bit of speculation that they might have wanted Natalya versus Ronda Rousey at WrestleMania last year, or this year. And if that's the case and she didn't get that, I mean, Natty is part of the family. So is Alexa Bliss at this point. I mean, come on. She's like a 6-time champion or whatever. But, like, I could see them being like, let's give it to Natty because we don't give Natty a whole lot,
Maybe. I'd be surprised if they didn't do something nice for Alexa just because they always make sure she shines.
I'm just surprised Alexa's wrestling again. So
yeah, I guess that's good.
It's like there's always a good. It's a good thing when she is wrestling because it means that clearly she's not injured.
At
But
this
then
point,
you put her on so many other extra events so she can get injured again.
At this point, you never know if she's wrestling, and apparently you never know if she is a babyface or a heel, because she was firm babyface on Monday night. Tuesday night, they have her go around, and it's like, we need you to be a complete opposite. We need you to, like, really hit home the point that you're a heel. It's kind of crazy. So the booking around her...
not for nothing, but you gave the Raw Superstar the SmackDown Women's title match. The brand split is dead, everybody.
Yeah. I mean, as soon as they did the wild card rule, which was 3 people, no 4 people, but there's 5 people, but it doesn't count. Look, we have like 15 people this time, so it's just.
I mean, I'm probably better placed in that one than knowing that we're almost certainly going to have Becky Lynch and Charlotte have another pay-per-view match very,
For
very
the Raw title
shortly.
this time?
Well, I imagine it will be her against Lacey against
triple
Charlotte
threat.
in a triple threat match.
Yeah, triple threat at Stomping Grounds. It's going to end up getting announced next week, guaranteed.
But that's then. This is now, unfortunately.
And what you should be doing right now is you should be hitting up that Patreon. If you want to show your support for the way that we've got things going on right here and you want us to do more, then that is something to be aware of. And shout out to the people that were the donations for last month. Very, very appreciated. Look at that. A little plug.
Proud of you.
So let's address this whole big idea that they're doing this battle royal. It's a 50-man over the top battle royal. Is there a possibility that ends up being where they throw the women in there? Like, that they have, like, Natty pop up and she's, like, in that. I highly, highly doubt it, but I've seen some people throwing that out there. I think it's, like, a 0% chance.
0% chance. It is a 50-man battle royal, and I think they're going to really hold that firm.
Well, I mean, Nia Jax was in the men's Royal Rumble this year.
The Royal Rumble didn't take place in a land that was very strict about stuff like that. You really think, hey, we want to be an agent of change. Let's just have Babatunde boot Natty in the face. Let's present that to the Saudi Arabian audience.
Yeah, I think it's unlikely that the women will be in this match, especially if it is Natalya and Alexa Bliss that have gone over. Like Natalya, you could probably see. Alexa Bliss, almost certainly not. Maybe if Nia Jax had been one going over, then she has experience, obviously, in a men's battle royal, so it wouldn't be too shocking in that regard. But I think it's probably going to just be 50 men. But the idea is, where are these 50 men? Who are these 50 men, and where are they coming from?
So the only ones that they've confirmed so far are the Revival and the Usos. That's it.
No, they've confirmed Jinder and Mojo Rawley as well.
They actually did? Because last night on SmackDown, they said many of these people could be competing.
Mojo did a promo during a Raw commercial break.
Okay.
Stating that. And I believe Jinder as well did a promo during the commercial break of SmackDown.
Now, that's the type of thing that I'm not surprised at all, because if you look at the roster right now and you look at the people that are possibilities for including in this match, you can kind of just start checking names off. You could be like, all right, well, Cedric Alexander's going to be in it. Cesaro's going to be in it. If he's not just doing something with the Roman Reigns match, Drew McIntyre, EC3, like pretty much anybody could potentially be in this match, whether you're low on the card like the Ascension or you're higher up on the card like the Miz. So there's the Raw roster, the NXT roster, the SmackDown roster, the NXT UK roster, the 205 Live roster. They have more than 50 people that they can work with.
Yeah.
How the hell are they all going to be in the ring, though?
No clue.
That, like, I mean, you look at a normal battle royal and it's 20 people and they have no room.
You can only imagine, like obviously the most crowded battle royal they've ever had is a 41-man battle royal. They did on SmackDown, and people were hanging off the sides and hanging off the edge, especially when you consider how giant some of the superstars they could put into this match.
Yeah, Samoa Joe could be in this, and he could take up a lot of space. Rusev is not a small guy. Like,
imagine if they got Carly back for this.
That could do that too. I mean, we said Babatunde was in the Greatest Royal Rumble. He is a tall motherfucker. Khali could be in this very easily because all he needs to do is just walk in there and get, put his leg over the top rope and then fall downward. It's not the hardest thing in the world.
I can only imagine that you'll see the crowd of people go from 50 to about 35 in about 2 or 3 minutes.
I don't even think it's going to take that long. I think that somebody like a Mark Henry or something is going to start, like, let's put it this way. I think that within the first 10 seconds of this, you're going to see at least like 5 eliminations. It's going to be immediately, as soon as the bell rings, somebody just grabs somebody and starts throwing them over. And if this would have been where Braun Strowman would have been in this match, I would have thought that he would have eliminated like 36 people immediately.
He probably still will be.
He might be too. That's the other thing, is other people that are wrestling on this card, like Bobby Lashley and Finn Balor and all that, they might all be in this as well.
I have to imagine like how much each of these wrestlers are making for the Saudi Arabia trip. and that one person, well, one and probably multiple people, all they have to do is be in the ring for 10 seconds and get thrown over the top rope, and then they just walk up the ramp and they're done.
They're basically getting paid to take a flight.
Yeah.
Like, shit, I'll do it. Yeah.
To be fair, that's pretty rough flight. Pretty long round trip.
Yeah, but I don't sleep, so, I'll get a lot of work done.
I imagine it would be worse for you.
Actually, I don't know. It depends. My sleep schedule, the way that people would be like, I've got jet lag. And I'll be like, yeah, well, I still think it's March. So what are some random people you could see being in this? Because I got to say, one of the people that I am putting out there as a real strong potential pick to win this is Mansoor.
I'm going with random, and I think he'll win it. Big Show.
I mean, I don't know who's there's so many different options. The one thing that I'm looking for in this match, and whether they decide to do it or not, is something to do with the 24/7 title.
I don't think it's happening here. I think it's happening elsewhere.
Potentially, yeah, but I imagine I like to envision a scenario where just somewhere during the match, like Drake Maverick is in the match, for instance, and he sees that R-Truth is somewhere in it, and people start to recognize that R-Truth is in the match, and he's the 24/7 champion, and he can defend it at this point. And then they stop chucking people over the top rope, and they start schoolboying R-Truth and trying to pin him and trying to deal with it. And then it's right in the middle of the match, Drake Maverick manages to get a pin on R-Truth and runs up the ramp with the title. And then eventually R-Truth gets him back either later on in the show or after this. But I can see R-Truth being involved quite near the end.
He'll get it on the plane. Can you see R-Truth pinning Drake Maverick while Drake is sleeping on the plane?
If you've heard enough stories of Vince McMahon and Kurt Angle grappling on a plane, then I could see this sort of stuff happening.
Well, can R-Truth actually fly over there? Because hasn't there been issues in the past with his criminal record that he can't fly to certain countries?
I guess we'll have to find out. Was he in either of the other two Saudi Arabia shows?
I don't remember off the top of my head. Let me try to Google that real quick.
Yeah, so I don't know with certain. So if he's not, then that obviously is an issue.
And I also think that's an easy way to eliminate a bunch of people. Have everybody realize that R-Truth is in the match, and just because, wrestling and no logic, have them jump over the top rope to escape to chase after R-Truth.
Yeah, they sort of just try and jump at him, and then they just end up flying over. He just pulls down the top rope, and they fly over the top.
So R-Truth was not in the Greatest Royal Rumble.
Oh.
So there's obviously the likelihood that he might not be involved in it. I just think it'd be a nice little side plot into the match if that was to be the case.
If he is over there at some point, I don't think that it's going to work its way into this match, but I do think that somewhere throughout the night, maybe even 3 times, just as kind of interstitials, you're going to see the title change hands back and forth. And they could do something like have him do the whole Elias type thing where it's he loses it, wins it right back. I could see that being the case, but it wouldn't shock me at all if he actually isn't on this card. Ali is another one that I think you should watch out for in this one. I think that he might win that too.
Yeah, he should get over well with the crowd, and they might see this as a way to elevate him. They clearly like him. Mm-hmm. Enough that he was penciled in before they decided on Lesnar. It was between him and Drew McIntyre for the Money in the Bank. So they clearly like Ali, and who knows, maybe he'll get a title shot out of this. I think it's wild, by the way, that they vacated the title knowing that you have a 50-man battle royal with no stipulations, that they didn't just throw the title on the line here.
I think it's because they just didn't want to necessarily book Samoa Joe to win. And that automatically rules out Samoa Joe to me, because I'm like, all right, well, if that would have been the case, then I would have been like, okay, well, he's probably just going to win it, and that'll make him look strong and stuff. And now I'm like, all right, well, there goes Samoa Joe. Let me throw Mansoor's name in there instead. Because I think that there's a couple different people that could win this. And let's be honest, the match doesn't mean anything, so anybody can win it, and they could literally just be like, hey, let's give it to Lio Rush if they want to do. But I think that if you're hitting that nostalgia market of the Attitude Era and everything, a real random choice could be Matt Hardy. Just a random thing for him to win. I do think Big Show or Mark Henry or some of those other guys that can pop up for just like one shot kind of thing, they could definitely win.
I
But
think
the Miz is somebody who stands out to me a little bit. Ali and definitely Mansoor. And if they want to do it, like give it to somebody who it's going to mean something, it could be Drew McIntyre.
some other options out there. I think Cesaro has a chance,
Definitely does.
just because they've been doing some stuff with him recently. Ricochet, just if he is in the match and can just be somebody who's like hanging on at every opportunity, just survive towards the end. I think Aleister Black is a really big. Oh, no, he's not on it.
No, he
I
can't
keep
go.
forgetting- Yeah, I keep forgetting that Aleister Black can't do it because they don't like tattoos all of a sudden.
Well, specifically, it's his tattoos because they're very
Yeah, I know.
religious.
Suggestive. Yeah. So
Nobody's picked a fight with him in Saudi Arabia. Get it?
yeah, I wish I didn't, but I do. But I can imagine someone like obviously there's many people that we don't know if they are going to be there or not in terms of just like pure activity. Jinder could do it. It might be one of those things where you just give it to Jinder because he
He's
used to be a
Indian.
WWE champion. Yeah, he used to be a WWE champion. Just throw him that. I think personally, they're going to give it to a babyface.
Yeah, I was literally just going to say, I'm leaning more towards a babyface than I am anything else.
So it kind of limits you a lot, really, in terms of like who could potentially win it. Like Mansoor, is Mansoor a babyface?
He's a babyface and he's from Saudi Arabia. That's why I'm
Yeah.
like, you know,
Promo last year.
right.
Oh yeah,
And he's been getting a lot more of a push lately in NXT. So I'm like, you know what? He is essentially my number one pick right now, and Ali is number 2.
I think for Mansoor, it'd be a case of he's just going to get enough of a good reaction by just being in it. So I think if he's just in it and he gets a couple of big eliminations, then that'll be enough, and then some big guy will get rid of him, and then that guy will be the last person eliminated by the eventual winner. So, this one probably is really out of left field, but I wouldn't be surprised, based on what happened in the Greatest Royal Rumble, that they give it to Titus O'Neil.
Yeah, that could happen.
Just as the like complete 180 from what happened in the Greatest Royal Rumble. It's like, yeah, he survives towards the end, or he does something like really goofy to actually eliminate someone else as opposed to get himself eliminated. But yeah, at the end of the day, it's 50-man battle royal. It's complete and total crapshoot. Like who will actually end up winning it? Especially because all the big names are in actual matches.
Yeah, I mean, this could be the type of thing that if the Saudi prince really likes Rusev, then maybe this is where they highlight Rusev. It could be absolutely anything, and it could be something that makes no sense at all and has... Look at the Greatest Royal Rumble. It had no bearing on anything that happened afterward. So it's not like we're booking this with the philosophy that it's going to go somewhere.
And
Do you think that Braun at least got to keep that title?
Oh, I highly doubt it. That was just put in storage.
yeah, I imagine it was given to the prince straight afterwards.
Maybe, yeah.
It also depends on when this 50-man battle royal takes place. Like if it was the opening match, then obviously it's unlikely that we'll see any of the people that are wrestling later in the night. But if it happens like midway through the show, then you could have add Braun Strowman and Bobby Lashley, and then maybe Roman Reigns could be in this one. Lars Sullivan could be in it.
Mm-hmm.
Well, but if we get there, then I think Roman's got a shot, you know?
Oh yeah, as soon as you put actual names into it, then they become the big attractions for these ones. I thought it'd just be quite interesting if like Shane McMahon somehow manages to beat Roman Reigns, and then they have Roman Reigns win the Battle Royal to get his heat back. It's like, yeah, you beat 49 other men, but you couldn't beat Shane McMahon because he is the best in the world.
So at the end of the day, even though it's a total crapshoot, final pick for who's going to win this. I'm going to just narrowly put Ali above Mansoor. You're going to go Big Show?
Yep.
I'm gonna go Ricochet.
Well, as much as that is a very hard match to predict, let's go with one that is the most obvious one to pick, which is Lars Sullivan against the Lucha House Party in a handicap match, because this exists for no reason other than for Lars Sullivan to win.
No, Kalisto could do some good Lucha things. So,
That's the other reason this match exists, so we can say that line.
Yeah, exactly. This is
Trash.
as obvious as it gets. I think it'll be fun to see Lars Sullivan squash 3 guys.
We have already seen it. He's done it 3 times, I think, already.
But I want to see it again
now we get
in an actual match.
Yeah, we get to see a pin at the end of it.
Yeah. I will say, though, at least they had him talk this week, and that was better than I was expecting.
I don't want to linger on this, but I do want to just ask you guys, what is the logic and the sensibility in having a man who has been vilified for racial comments from 10 years ago to go, it's okay. I know what you really want to call me. I've been called that word my whole life. Like, is nobody paying attention?
Well, the fact that he's now considering himself a victim.
Yeah.
No, I think that everybody just said, this is our idea. Let's move on.
Yeah, and honestly, I think that most people have forgotten about it.
No, well, you're not. I'll tell you that the people watching, everybody stopped into the same thing. Oh, you mean it's not cool when people only want to see you as one thing? They're walking into a death trap with him. I really wish they would just move on to the Vladimir Kozlov point and have him start dancing like a robot at this point, you know?
I mean, he'll get there eventually.
He's a freak on the dance floor. That's what they switch it over to.
And he goes from a freak. He goes from a freak on the dance floor to a freak in the shades.
Freak is on a roll. Freak is on a roll.
He needs to have a feud with Scott Steiner. Genetic freak against just the freak.
Just a freak.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we're all going Sullivan.
Yeah.
Obviously. Yeah. Let's just move on.
But
this
if
is a
he
bathroom
loses,
break.
I think I would have said if he loses, we'll know what they're thinking about him. But clearly, they've established they want him to be a thing.
You know what I'm thinking about?
Tacos.
I mean, tacos are very good, but I was also thinking about the merch shop over on Smark.
Oh my god.
Plugs are not going to be like this forever, I swear to God, everybody. That would be awful, wouldn't it? But I will want to mention the merch really quickly, because I like doing these plugs kind of interspersed. If you do not know what the merch shop is, then check on the TeePublic and Redbubble shops, and you will see Smark Out Moment designs, and you will see that for Fanboys Anonymous, and a Mango Tees as well. So if you want to pick up a shirt, that's where you can find it. Let's go to the Intercontinental Championship match. Finn Balor is going to be in the whole demon face paint, which you know what that means. The same entrance and the same wrestling style and the same everything against Andrade. And that is something that I'm actually excited to see, but at the same time, not as excited as I was when I thought that it was just going to be regular Finn Balor, because now I feel like this kind of spoils the ending. The Demon has lost one match, and it was in NXT. So it's just kind of like, all right, well, then Finn Balor retains and he loses it at Stomping Grounds.
To Andrade?
I think so. This should be a good match. I'm excited for that. But I feel like this is another one of those scenarios. We're going to look back and we're going to go, okay, so they stalled. Like, they just did the same match again. Because this has happened many, many times before. It happened with the last Super Showdown. It's happened with plenty of pay-per-views over the last 2 years where they do a match and then they just do it again. Look at AJ Styles. He's had tons of feuds that were like this. And Demon Balor's just like, all right, Demon Balor wins here. Andrade attacks him on SmackDown. They set up a rematch where they just don't even bother. They just go, hey, we're going to have a rematch at Stomping Grounds. And then he wins the title there.
So has the overly religious Saudi Arabian crowd been prepped on the Demon?
I assume that they probably just assume that he's like, oh, look at that, he's in face paint. Isn't that neat?
Yeah, we don't know what he's going to look like yet. Even though, obviously, Demon has looked fairly similar in recent outings, it doesn't mean that he's going to be wearing exactly the same face paint.
It's a shame that he doesn't do, like, the weirder stuff like he used to, you know?
Or, like, the chainsaw and stuff.
Yeah, like, that was at least, like, different and interesting. And then he goes in the main roster, and it's like, just do the one thing. That's it.
Well, that one thing is good shit, pal.
Yeah, I was just thinking that. God. I don't. Again, it's just WWE logic, so you can't explain it anyway because there is no logic. But it just baffles me that Andrade hasn't won a match in a month, and he's fighting for the Intercontinental Championship. And Finn Balor has barely even appeared for a month, and he is the Intercontinental Champion. It's like, why aren't people complaining like when Brock Lesnar left? Well, we've got an Intercontinental Champion that's never there.
What about Money in the Bank?
Yeah, he appeared at Money in the Bank, and then
but he hasn't done anything since.
Yeah, and that was his last thing. Where was his last title defense? 2 months ago? 3 months ago?
Yeah. What happened to your 30-day rule?
Well, what happened to the wild card rule?
Also,
rules are not rules.
Also, he won the title with the Demon, so surely should every title match only be with the Demon? Because the Demon's the champion. Finn Balor's not the champion. He just carries the title. It's like all these stupid connotations that they have absolutely no explanation for because they don't care. It's just, I don't understand why. I understand giving Andrade this match against Finn Balor because it'll be a good match. I don't understand the reason why they couldn't have Andrade win a couple of matches in the build up to it.
That's because you needed to take that time to have another Shane McMahon promo.
Well, yeah, exactly. But like, what does it hurt? I mean, he had a match with Ali coming out of Money in the Bank, and he lost to Ali, and Ali's in the Battle Royal, and Andrade's getting the title shot.
That was probably, well, we didn't give you the Money in the Bank, so let's give you a win.
Yeah, I know, but that sort of logic is just it's a logic that we understand, but it makes no sense whatsoever in terms of the actual story you're telling.
Because that's why that whole continuity script supervisor thing. I'm just saying. Just saying. I can keep track of these things.
I just don't. Just like every single day that passes, you just look and say to Jon Moxley, "Yeah, you did the right thing."
Bravo, man.
Yeah, I gain more and more respect for Jon Moxley every single time a WWE show happens.
You know what though? Considering that he's the Death Rider and he suddenly developed a fascination for death, I'm surprised he's not intrigued by doing a Saudi Arabian show.
But I mean, this match again, like Tony says, it's a Demon Balor match. Andrade is obviously puts good matches together, but he's not going to be the one who ends up beating the Demon for the first time because that'll probably be safe for either, well, one of the top guys. So it'll be Brock or Roman or Corbin, probably, knowing the way they book stuff. So yeah, it'll be Balor retaining.
I'm going with Andrade. There has to be a reason that Balor hasn't wrestled for a month. I think maybe he's a little more banged up than they thought, and he drops the title here, and Andrade can face Ali. They can build that up in 2 weeks.
If it wasn't the Demon, I would say the title changes hands, but that whole undefeated type of thing, I'm thinking that they just requested that the Demon is going to be on the whole thing because they like the gimmick for some reason, which I still just don't understand.
You think the Prince was watching WrestleMania and he's like, "That's good shit. I want that on my show."
100%. I think that it was just like, here's our list of requests. We want Goldberg, we want The Undertaker, we want Triple H, we want maybe a bunch of things that they weren't able to get, and they wanted the Demon Balor thing. And then that's why I think that WWE, because WWE does this all the time, they do this idea of, well, we can just do this thing, and then if we do the other thing later, that'll be the thing that matters. Like, it doesn't matter if we have a DQ finish on a pay-per-view, because, well, they'll get the thing at the next pay-per-view. Like, there's always been this philosophy in the past bunch of years of, it's fine, just move on, just the next day is the thing that matters. And for the fans to just be like, just get over it. I know that we promised a whole bunch of things and we didn't do it, but the next one we will do it, get over it. And I think that that's the case here. I think it's just going to be like, well, we planned on Andrade winning that Intercontinental title. We can't have the Demon lose. Fuck it, Stomping Grounds is 2 weeks later. Just do it there.
I'll go a step further and say if he loses to the Demon, you think Andrade would break out the La Sombra mask?
Now, that would be a fun way to do it, but they're not going to do it.
Well, I like to have fun, but I know that they're not going to do it, so I'm going to say Finn Balor's actually hurt, and Andrade wins.
And Callum, who are you going with?
Balor, obviously.
Yeah, I'm going with Balor as well. Roman Reigns and Shane McMahon, they are facing each other. Obviously, there's going to be some other people in the mix here, whether it's the Revival or Elias or Drew McIntyre or even The Miz, maybe on the pro Roman Reigns side of things. But this is a match that is very much built up from the idea of let's have Shane McMahon win at WrestleMania. That'll make him look stronger against Roman. Let's actually do another thing at Money in the Bank. That'll make him look stronger against Roman. That way, Roman wins.
I'm so annoyed with Shane McMahon, and it's sad because I was happy when he turned heel, and I thought it was fresh. They ran it into the ground quick. They can't help themselves. Whenever there is a definitive heel McMahon, they have to run it into the ground. And that's the way I feel about the Shane thing, and I hope he loses and kind of goes away for a while.
It wouldn't be as bad if they didn't do this whole wild card rule thing of being like, we're going to run into the same exact problems that we did without the brand split, where we're only going to focus on the same couple of people, and it's going to make Roman Reigns not look as well, and it's making people really not like the whole Shane McMahon have to do 3 segments per week kind of thing, and, you know. I think if this would have just been kept to like 1 segment a week on just SmackDown, it would be a lot easier to take.
So we know that Roman is facing Drew McIntyre at Stomping Grounds.
Correct.
Yep. Well,
So
actually, they have not put that up on the website.
No, I don't
Roman
care.
has said it. Roman has said it in a promo that he's facing Drew at Stomping Grounds.
Yeah, but they went out of their way to not put that up for some reason. And
No, because they're fucking lazy, Tony.
yeah, I mean, that's a possibility, but it could also be that they decided that they don't want to confirm that because they
Did
want
they
to do
put up
something
Bailey
here.
and Alexa?
Yeah.
Well, then maybe you gotta put it.
That's what I'm talking about. Yeah, that's the only thing that they have listed on that right now. So maybe the plan is to do something else. Maybe it's going to be like a handicap match.
Yeah, that's kind of. I don't know whether it would be a handicap match. I think a handicap match might be what they do at SummerSlam. But I think if you're going to go down that route, then you kind of have to have, as sickening as it sounds, Shane McMahon win this match.
There's a kickoff match?
They haven't announced anything.
Yes, they have. Revival and Usos.
Oh, wow. They just did that?
I just went on the page for Super Showdown, and that's what I saw.
Well, there goes the whole that they announced the Revival and the Usos are being part of that 50-man Battle Royal. Jesus.
Well, in which case, we can track back to that one. But for Roman and Shane, I don't think it's as a foregone conclusion as many people think that Roman is going to win this one, because obviously Roman should win this one. It depends on whether they want to extend this Roman against the Authority storyline even longer. And if he's facing Drew McIntyre, then it means at least 2. If he does end up facing Drew McIntyre at Stomping Grounds, it means they are extending it to at least some extent, because Drew McIntyre has decided, I'm fine just playing, like, you know, the lackey to the authority figure, whoever that authority figure is, instead of, you know, breaking out on his own and becoming a world champion like he should have done several months ago. But yeah, so I think, again, as sickening as it sounds, I think I'm going to go with Shane for this one.
I'm still sticking with Roman, especially now that they did this whole Usos and Revival. Oh, that fucking means that it's now 1:00. God, that's annoying.
Time zones suck.
I think Revival's winning that one, and Roman Reigns is winning this one.
Oh, okay. So we're just gonna say our predictions there. I think Usos win there, and I'm not sure. I can really see it going either way, but I think I'm gonna lean toward Shane, and maybe even one day you get, like, let's say in November, it'll be Shane versus Seth for the Universal title, because Shane's undefeated in Saudi Arabia, and that's where he was crowned the best in the world, and he's going to become the Universal Champion in Saudi Arabia. I'll go with Shane, because what the fuck? Why not?
Yeah, I'll go Shane and the Usos.
And by the way, Roman does not feel like a big deal anymore. It's almost like what they did to Bryan last year, where Bryan came back from this career-ending injury, and how are you just treading water with him? they're doing that with Shane, and I mean with Roman, and I don't understand how.
Yeah, I found that the one thing that is now more annoying than Roman Reigns constantly being in the championship picture is Roman Reigns constantly being kept out of the championship picture. There's just something inherently off with his character, not so much his character, but just him in any sort of like segment of the show. Like he's still always the big deal, and he's like the big star of all the shows, and he deserves it for just the charisma, the ability, all that other stuff. But there's something just always inherently off about where he is or what he's doing, where people just aren't happy with it. I don't know what else to really add to that kind of thing other than...
Yeah, I mean, he doesn't feel like a big deal, and I don't know. I'm glad you echoed those sentiments, because I didn't know if it was just me, the fact that I enjoy Roman and wouldn't mind him in the title picture, especially coming out from leukemia. Like, if there was ever a point that I think you could have shoehorned it, and people would have been like, okay, because now what you've done is you've reset him as just another guy. So when you build him back up to win that Royal Rumble and beat Lesnar for whatever championship Lesnar has yet again, people are just gonna crap. You know, they're just gonna, I don't want this.
Part of me still thinks you would have gotten that, whether you just shoehorned it or not. I think people, I just think that there's a general feeling, not so much about the majority, but the very vocal minority that seems to make all the noise at these shows, that they're never going to accept Roman Reigns being the top guy, and every time they try and do it, they're going to reject it. So, but if you're going to do it, then just do it. Really, I'm just having treading water in these instances, because everyone knows you're just waiting to push him to the top again.
Either way, this is not the type of thing where I think I can speak for pretty much everybody, for the most part. Not everybody, but obviously, because some people are going to disagree. But I think that WWE looks at this and they're like, this is really interesting, engaging, awesome, fun storyline stuff. We've got one of our biggest guys in Roman Reigns, and we've got Shane McMahon, and we're going through these two different sections of the roster, and we're carrying that over. And isn't it interesting that we've got the Revival in the mix, and isn't it interesting that Elias and Drew McIntyre and the Usos, and this is one of our big focal points, and people are loving it. I don't think that people are.
No one cares.
It's good shit.
Yeah. It's the type of thing that they're investing a lot into this, and I don't think it's paying off. And that kind of speaks a little bit of volumes, because it's sort of like, okay, then maybe that's kind of proof a little bit that there's a little bit of a disconnect. Maybe, I don't know.
Did you see? Well, since we're here, did you see that the fan council sent out emails, pretty much asking, "Do you think we're out of touch?"
Yeah. Well, it was like kind of hidden. It was like, what words would you describe WWE? And out of touch was one of them.
But out of touch was one of them. Boring was one of them. Like, they're directly looking for these responses from fans.
Yeah, because it's the type of thing where if anybody hasn't done the whole thing with like surveys and polls and stuff like that, when you want to get the answer out of somebody, you ask them questions that are a roundabout way to get the answer. And if you would have just put up a poll saying, do you think that the WWE is out of touch, yes or no, you would get different results than if you put up a bunch of different things there and you have that option. Now, one of the ways to go around that is if you give them a lot of other options and people are less likely to click on the out of touch option, that's a good way to fool yourself into going, oh, well, see, only this amount of people pick that because a lot of people pick this instead. And I'm worried that that's why that happened, is because they were like, let's put it out there to see how many people do that, but we don't actually really want to get that response. And now we can kind of go, whew, okay, well, only 10% of the people chose that, not knowing that they could. You know what I mean? And this is why I put a lot of investment into stupid things like the Sexiest Superstars tournament. Which, by the way, if I want to plug that, why not? Go ahead and vote on the Sexiest Superstars tournament. We are on the qualifying round part 1 right now, so you get to pick on who the people are that are going to continue on with this top 64, that we can narrow that down into the 32 that end up being placed into the bracket. So go ahead and vote, men and women. Do it. Yeah, I'm not feeling the whole thing with the Shane McMahon thing, and even more so now that they've added this whole Usos revival match. It's just making me be like, all right, well, then why the hell did you specifically announce that as being like, these are two of the, or four of the people that are going to be in that battle royal? It's like, well, then just don't announce that. Like, I say this way too often these past couple of years. This isn't that hard. Just don't say something and then backtrack. Just don't do it. Like, and I feel like that kickoff thing is going to be that Drew McIntyre, Elias, Shane McMahon, whatever, they screw out the Usos, and then that way it's like, oh, they're going to do the same to Roman, but then Roman wins.
It's a fair enough prediction.
Yeah.
Let's go to Bobby Lashley versus Braun Strowman. I'll give them credit for this. I mean, I'm always fair, I think. If something's good, it's good. If something's bad, it's bad. And that's why when there's a lot of bad things, you get a lot of bad things. But one of the things I thought that they would do that they proved me wrong about is they did this arm wrestling match between Strowman and Lashley. And I had already written out on the page on the live coverage, I was like, all right, well, Bobby Lashley causes a disqualification and Braun Strowman wins through that way. Because that's like every single arm wrestling match. And they actually didn't do that. They actually had Braun Strowman win, and then they did the fight afterward. And I was like, you know what? They kind of switched it up for that. Like, I like that. I'm not loving this feud, but I liked how they did that. So they are two big names on the Monday Night Raw roster, and this should feel like a much bigger deal. And it's a shame that it doesn't. But I'm going Braun Strowman. I think that they like Strowman quite a bit.
Yeah. Braun Strowman.
I think with the arm wrestling thing, I think that was a nice touch on the feud. I think that should have been really where the feud started. It should be just those two trying to prove which one is the more dominant. And you could have done it in a lot of different segments where it would just be the arm wrestling contest. You could have had a weightlifting contest. Like it's an old school approach to it, but at least it's different than just being in random tag team matches every single week or in the Fatal 4-Way or whatever. So yeah, but I think they'll probably go with Strowman for this one because he's presented as really strong. Well, I say he's been presented really strong in Saudi Arabia. He's presented strong once in Saudi Arabia, and then the other time he was squashed in less than 2 minutes. So, but I think they'll try and build him back up because he's the bigger guy.
Let's see what we have here that we can go around, bounce between. I don't want to talk about the title matches yet. Triple H and Randy Orton. That is something that they are doing with this whole idea of like, oh, we're going to revisit this feud, and the whole entire feud is going to be just essentially, hey, remember? And
well, let me tell you, first of all, I'm really glad that two of the participants in the 50-man Battle Royal are not Triple H's testicles, because they're apparently huge. And they're massive. And I don't even know how he's going to get it in the carry-on. Because that's what the promo on Monday was. Hey, get your balls from your wife's purse. Oh, I'll get my balls. And they're huge. And yeah, Triple H and Randy Orton. Here we go.
He's going to come out to a new theme song. It's going to be, he's got big balls. She's got big balls. We all got big balls.
I'm way more excited about this match than either one of you. And I think if you've listened to this podcast enough, you know that I really like Triple H as a performer. And I don't think Randy is as boring as everybody else tends to. And this is top 5 feuds of my childhood, so I've seen it way too much, but I also know that they can deliver. Triple H wins because bow down to your king, but it'll be a good match.
Okay. I can say this with hand on heart, and it's just my opinion. I'm not saying that everyone has to follow this or not. I'd say hand on heart, I've seen a lot of Triple H Randy Orton matches. I have never seen one where I would want to watch it again. Not a single match they've ever had I wanted to watch again. or really found in any way interesting. It's one of those feuds where people tell you how important and special and amazing it is, when actually you look back at it and you think, wow, this is really underwhelming. Pretty much how I feel towards the Randy Orton-John Cena feud as well. And it's not, I don't want to just say like, oh, it's all just shitting on Randy Orton. Randy Orton has had great feuds. The feud with Christian, the feuds with like Benoit leading into the World Heavyweight Championship stuff, the stuff that he did with Mick Foley. He has had great feuds in the past, just not with the guys that maybe he's supposed to be having the feuds with, like your Triple H's, your John Cena's, the guys near the top of it.
One thing I like about this story that I think gets lost on people because they've seen this match too much. The Triple H feud basically defines who Randy Orton is as a character, the evolution thing, and then the betrayal, which basically led to him doing nothing for years until he decided to take out his revenge on Triple H. So there's story there. It's not like a match we're going to talk about later where it's literally just, these are big names, they're going to fight. There's story there, and there's enough of a connection that the match could be all right. It's just how much are they really going to bring to Saudi Arabia?
I'm really not excited for 20 to 30 minutes of these two applying various rest holds to each other.
I hope it's 15 minutes or less.
It won't be, because it's a Triple H match. So, and Triple H has pretty much got written in his contract, unless there is, like, obviously the 50-man battle royal will take a while, but he's pretty much got written in his contract that he has the longest match on every show. So, I imagine this will go 20 plus. And this will probably be where I take my, short nap break.
No,
I don't think it's going to be anything great. I don't think it's going to be anything awful. I think it's just going to be one of those things that afterward we're just like, all right, that happened. And it doesn't really mean anything. And, and I'll actually go with Randy Orton winning. I think that maybe Triple H winning against Batista is going to be enough that he won't have to necessarily win this. And I'm holding out at least a little bit of hope that Randy Orton can become another number one contender for the WWE Championship against Kofi Kingston. Fingers crossed. We'll get more on that in a little bit, but that would be a good thing to kind of get that ball rolling and to have him be like, hey, I won that match at Saudi Arabia. Well, they're not going to say that because they don't say Saudi Arabia. I won that match at Super Showdown, and now I'm kind of in the talks about being a number one contender or whatever, or just to give Randy Orton a win, because when's the last real win that Randy Orton's gotten? I don't remember off the top of my head.
Rey Mysterio? Chairs match?
I can't remember.
But even that's 6 months ago, so yeah, it's been a while.
Because Styles won at Mania, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, so
I think Orton would be a good opponent for Kingston. I can't say I would necessarily be looking forward to it, because I just, at this point in my fandom, I just don't really get anticipated for anything that Randy Orton does. But in terms of this match, I think it's the right decision to have Randy Orton win, whether that is the case or not, because at the end of the day, this is a match that doesn't really mean anything. And if it's a match that doesn't really mean anything, then you wonder if the performer side of Triple H starts to come out and thinks that just having the match is enough for Randy Orton. But I might just get the pinfall. That's it. He's a lot better now that he's the head honcho of NXT. He seems a lot more sensible and a lot more thinking about the big picture. But he's a very different man when he's got the trunks on. So it'll come down to that at the end of the day, but I'm going to go with Orton.
And who are you going with, Rob?
I said Triple H wins because bow down to your king, and I think performer Triple H comes out here, and guess what? I beat all of Evolution in a month. I win.
We have Undertaker versus Goldberg. This match is potentially going to be the main event. I can't imagine that this is some 10-15 minute match. If you count the entrances, this is going to go on for a while. But this can't be something that's like more than 5 minutes long, right?
No, and it shouldn't be. It should be a big moves match. And honestly, I'm looking forward to this more than pretty much anything on the show.
I'm
I'm
surprised
not.
at that.
Just because it's different. And I know it's different, but it's two old guys facing each other. I've never had a problem with two legends facing each other. It's when the legends are facing the new guys and just burying them 6 feet under is more of the issue for me. But if it's just two guys that haven't fought each other, who are legends in the business, I mean, it's not going to be great quality, but I think it's going to be entertaining.
Who are you going with?
Well, I've pretty much mapped out the match because I think the match is going to go about 3 to 5 minutes. So the way that I see it going, just a bit of a fantasy booking scenario. So you have Undertaker and Goldberg. They go up, stare down. Undertaker starts beating Goldberg into the corner. Gets pulled away by the referee for a second. Turns his back. Goldberg hits a spear. Goes for the jackhammer. Undertaker gets out of it. Choke slam. Pin attempt. Kick out. Then Undertaker goes for, I don't know, just goes to the tombstone. Goldberg gets off his shoulder, pushes him against the rope, spear. Then he hits the jackhammer. Undertaker kicks out. Goldberg goes for another jackhammer. Undertaker reverses it into a tombstone. Another kick out. Undertaker goes for old school, gets caught with a spear out of midair, which would be the one amazing thing that happens. Then Goldberg hits the jackhammer and Goldberg wins.
I knew there was a reason for that fucking accent. You son of a bitch, you're the doctor, aren't you?
I wish I knew what the reference was for that.
That's a Doctor Who reference. That was a time travel reference. I was saying that you've seen the match already. All right, that was a miss.
Yeah, I didn't get it either.
All right.
I now I get it, but it's talking to someone who's not a Doctor Who fan. It takes a little while for it to connect.
Oh damn.
But I get it, and I appreciate it.
Thank you. You have to take your Smark hat off for this match. This is a spectacle. This is, wow, isn't this cool? I think among all the controversy that we've already talked about, what gets lost is that there are actual fans in Saudi Arabia who never got to experience guys like Goldberg and The Undertaker in their prime.
Oh, the entrances are going to be great.
But the match itself, for what it will be, should be great for that audience as well. I don't know how much we can expect, because even the brief stuff that Goldberg did in 2017, he was in the ring for a combined 7 minutes.
Yeah, that's why, anybody that's sitting there going, yeah, but maybe this time he'll really want to put it. No, it's not going to happen. Especially against The Undertaker, because let's be honest, The Undertaker hasn't been able to really perform that well. And it kills me saying that, since he's my number 2 favorite of all time. And I really wish that, if you could just, I don't know, give them an injection of vitality of their 2001 version of themselves, or even the 2007 version of themselves, this match could be freaking amazing. It would have been a main event of WrestleMania. It would have been such a huge deal, and I just feel like it's kind of going to be sad. I'm going into this with 0 expectations, and I hope that I don't get proven right.
Well, I think even a Goldberg Undertaker match at its prime, that match shouldn't have gone any further than. No, it shouldn't go any longer than 10 minutes. Because Goldberg, the thing about Goldberg, which people seem to always forget about how huge a star he was, is because his matches were always short.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And that's not, I know people talk about the fact that's because he was a bad worker. He wasn't a bad worker. They understood, even in WCW, they understood that Goldberg got over because his matches were short and he destroyed people. And that was the thing that was cool and interesting about him. So whether he was a great worker or not, he should have always been having 3 to 4 minute matches, because that's what everyone were paid to see him do. Just go in the ring and kill someone. Whereas if you go into the ring and say, have a Kurt Angle, you want to see him wrestle for 20, 30 minutes because he's awesome at producing really long, fluid matches. But Goldberg's there for your 2-3 minute main event and everyone goes home happy.
Yeah, Goldberg is a sprint instead of a marathon.
Yeah. And there's nothing like at the end of the day, there's nothing wrong with having like a variety of performers that are good at different things. Not everyone has to do the 20-minute match. If you can get yourself over, like I'd say, like Lars Sullivan, if he's always having 3-minute matches and he doesn't get any sort of big reaction from it, then that's obviously a fail on his side of things. But people talk about like when Baron Corbin was in NXT, he was having matches that were under a minute and he was getting over. And then he started having longer matches and his stock completely started to plummet.
I forget how much they loved him.
That whole counting while he was gonna win the match thing, that was over as fuck.
Yeah, and then they started, because you have to learn how to have long matches in WWE rather than say, this guy gets over in like really short matches. Why don't we just give him more short matches? Because that's at the end of the day what you should do with it. It's not like they said to Goldberg, okay, you've gone really over by having these 3 to 5 minute long matches and destroying everybody. So we're going to give you a match against Hulk Hogan. We're going to make that go 20 minutes. It's like, no, in their match against Hulk Hogan, it went about 7 minutes and he destroyed it. And
that was great.
And that was great. And obviously he had longer matches with people going forward, which actually ended up doing reasonably well. But this is a sort of instance where, obviously due to the limitations of both of these two, it's going to have to be short no matter what. And I don't think, and I completely agree with what you're saying, Tony. If it was 2001 or 2007, they'd be a lot sharper in the ring. Right. And it'd be a lot snappier and it would look a lot more hard hitting than I think it will end up looking. But at the same time, I don't think it would have gone significantly longer than what this match is going to go. I mean, I'm interested in just seeing how they lay out this short match in as hard hitting and entertaining a fashion as possible.
Do they build to anything with this? Because we saw Super Showdown in Australia built to Crown Jewel. Are they building to anything here?
I don't think so.
No, I think this is a one-off.
Look at what happened with the DX and Brothers of Destruction thing. Absolutely nothing.
I would say it's more likely that if they're building it for anybody, they're building it for Goldberg than Undertaker.
Mm-hmm. That's why Goldberg's winning this.
Yeah. So
Goldberg has lost to 5 people. He lost to Brock Lesnar, Bret Hart, Triple H, Scott Steiner, and I'm blanking on the other one.
Trying to think. Who's the other guy that he lost?
Oh, Kevin Nash.
Oh, of course.
Oh, right. The end of the streak.
Yeah,
That's the
of course.
one.
Why the fuck am I forgetting that? Yeah, he's lost to 5 people over the course of his entire career. And, I mean, outside of the idea of, like, it's kind of strange that, like, hey, Scott Steiner is one of them. But it's like Scott Steiner was a big deal in WCW for a short time frame.
Technically, just to say, because we watched it as part of 2001 Wrestling Odyssey,
Totally
just get a plug in if you want to go back and watch, listen to some of the episodes of 2001 Wrestling Odyssey on the Smark channel. He lost a tag team match as well against who was it against?
Lex Luger and Buff Bagwell.
Yeah, so he's been pinned by one of Lex Luger and Buff Bagwell.
He was pinned?
Yeah, he was the one that was pinned. Yeah.
Oh wow. Really?
Yeah, it wasn't Sarge, his partner. It was Goldberg, the one that was pinned. Because I remember it vividly,
Luger?
and
gotta be Luger.
I can't remember. I
hope it's Bagwell. That'd be great.
I have to double check that one, but you'll obviously know if you watched 2001. You know, because it was fresher in our minds back then. But yeah, I think you have to say that Goldberg is obviously more likely one they'll do something with, whether it's to do with SmackDown moving to Fox or a match at SummerSlam or next WrestleMania. Undertaker is more of just a bit part player that's in for the money.
I don't think that anything's happening out of this at all, and I think that they just happen to be like, we want Goldberg, and we'll pay you lots of money, and Goldberg was like, all right, that's it. I mean, it's a shame that, like, the way that this is going down, that we still haven't gotten Sting Undertaker. You would think that this is where they would end up doing something like that, you know? And it's like, damn, that still hasn't happened.
Well, but yeah, I'm going to throw in fantasy booking here and say, you guys are crazy. Undertaker's winning this match unless they get some type of Sting interaction. Because at the end of the day, this is an on-screen representation of the Monday Night Wars, and you'd name me one time that they have ever allowed themselves to say, WCW beat us. Goldberg's not winning this match. There's no way.
And I'm feeling like there's no way Undertaker wins.
Yeah, exactly. That's the complete
Because
opposite
it's
way I feel.
Goldberg.
Well,
Like
then you
if
know
it
what?
was,
By
Booker
default,
T
that
or
makes
something.
this the most interesting match on the card.
Well, it's like you say they never did that sort of stuff. They had Goldberg beat Triple H and The Rock on his
That's
first
because
run.
he needed. The Rock was going to do movies, and Triple H needed to go get married.
Yeah, and Undertaker's not going to be around any longer, so it's like.
Yeah, but neither should Goldberg. And by the way, Lex Luger was the one that got the pin.
Damn. It would have been great if it was Bagwell.
Yeah, that would have upped their superstar score rate.
51 now.
Like, in my mind, I really want it to be, oh shit, it's Sting! And Sting cracks the Undertaker with a baseball bat. But I don't see that happening, and I think it's gotta be Undertaker, because WWE beats WCW every time.
Tell you what, that would be so cool if Sting came down, screwed over the Undertaker, and then they were like, we're going to return to Saudi Arabia in November, and it's going to be Sting versus Undertaker. Then I'd be like, that's pretty fucking cool. But it's not going to happen. Goldberg's going to win.
But
Yeah,
why?
Goldberg.
What the hell are they setting up for Goldberg? And
Nothing.
if you
They're
guys say
just
what I think,
going along with the whole idea that Goldberg is Goldberg.
They're going to have.
There is a potential that he's got another match with Brock Lesnar.
Well, it's not so much like it doesn't have to be another match with Brock Lesnar, but I think Goldberg has more matches left in him than the Undertaker has. You can envision Goldberg coming back for a short run again, whereas Undertaker is very much just, I'm here for the Saudi Arabian shows and possibly WrestleMania, and that's it.
I don't think, unless they have a definitive plan with Goldberg, or we can get that beautiful Sting interaction, I think Undertaker has to win. And if he doesn't, if he just loses cleanly to Goldberg with no purpose, I'll be a little salty, because I never got the Goldberg thing, and I don't get it over the Undertaker especially.
I think.
Well, I guess we'll find out when it comes to that.
And I'd say, like, and this is my interpretation, if you don't get the Goldberg thing, then I don't think you get wrestling as well as people you might think you do. That's just my interpretation of it.
Well, I'm pretty sure I get wrestling. I don't know. Maybe it's because I've always been more of a WWE guy, but
I think obviously with the Undertaker Goldberg, you want it to be more of a dream match, or has more consequence than it will end up having. At the end of the day, either guy could win, and it doesn't really matter at the end of the day. But I just think you've got more of an option with Goldberg in the fact that he seems to have a few more goes left in him, and Undertaker is probably just not so much done, but pretty much done at this point.
This whole discussion about Goldberg and Sting and everything reminds me of, I've told the story before, but it's just popped in my mind again. But when I was a little kid, I'm like, I don't know, 10 at the time or something like that. I'm waiting in line to get my autograph from Goldberg at like my local mall or whatever it was. And he's, like, hey, like, how you doing, pal? Or something like that. And I was like, I always like to ask people a question when I had gotten their autographs. And for him, I was like, so who's going to end up beating you first? And he was like, oh, nobody. And I was like, I think Sting's going to beat you. I was like, what a dick move.
Yeah.
Just be like, I think Sting's going to beat you. All right, thanks for the autograph.
Tony is a little bit of a dick.
Yeah.
Well, I wore a DX shirt to the Rocks thing, and he got all pissed off about it. He's like, you're really going to wear a DX shirt to the Rocks autograph signing? And I'm like, yeah, Shawn Michaels is my favorite. Sorry, Val. Like, but it's just having flashbacks about that and just seeing the look on his face of being like, this little fucking kid just said this.
Well, go get Sting's autograph then.
Right. And it's like, well, I would if Sting was here. Like, all right. Well, we have 2 more matches, and we need to talk about the elephant in the room when it comes to this, and that is Brock Lesnar with the Money in the Bank briefcase, because the setup that they're doing is this idea that Seth Rollins is doomed. He is facing Baron Corbin for the Universal Championship, and at any point in time, Brock Lesnar can come in and cash in, but we are all in agreement here. We are not fully buying into that. We are very suspicious that Kofi Kingston is going to have his match with Dolph Ziggler for the WWE Championship. He's going to retain. It's going to be a really good, hard-fought match, and Brock Lesnar is going to cash in on him.
Yep. Maybe even Ziggler lays out Kofi in like a bitter...
post-match, he just does something like that, and then, yeah.
I think there's equal possibility between both of them. Maybe even more so on the Kofi Kingston side because it's the one that would be considered a swerve. But it's just a sense of there's also based on what's happening on like Monday Night Raw, the equal possibility of Lesnar interferes at the end of both matches and just beats them up with the briefcase and a steel chair and stuff like that, and then just walks away.
I'll be more mad at that than a cash-in.
Because he's
he's surprised.
A troll now. His character is a professional troll now.
And they seem to really think that this idea of promising that he's going to do that and then being like, I got you guys, it's a fake out, is something that they can really pat themselves in the back for, which is really not difficult to do, and it's not all that interesting to be like, it's interesting, but it's not going to be the type of thing that people are going to be like, oh my god, I can't wait to tune into the next one, because maybe this time people are just going to get frustrated.
But in fairness to Brock, that is the point of the briefcase, and he's been more entertaining in the last month than he has been in the last year and a half.
Yeah.
So, yeah. It's pretty good.
Oh yeah, I'm not saying it's... I'm like probably one in the minority, especially on this podcast, in thinking that it's not terrible for Brock Lesnar to be champion. I think the way they handle it sometimes and the way they have him steamroll people that he could potentially have better matches with or at least sell a bit more for could be a bit of an issue. And the fact that they are heavily reliant on him when I don't think he does make a huge impact to numbers is also an issue. But then again, nobody really makes an impact with numbers nowadays. So,
and that's the argument. That's what, if nobody makes an impact, then how can you keep giving him that treatment of being like, well, he's the one that does. If he doesn't,
yeah,
because if he doesn't, then just treat everybody the same. You know,
because he's a professional athlete, Tony. He didn't just stick to this wrestling. He's a real athlete.
It's just the way that Moxley explained it in his podcast. It's just a case of Vince McMahon wants to own Lesnar, or at least think in his mind that he owns Lesnar. Where in reality it seems pretty obvious that Lesnar owns Vince McMahon, and that's the way that he operates. In this way that, oh yeah, I'll do the work for you, and like you pay me, and I'll appear on whatever shows you want to, and you can feel like you're in charge of me, and you tell me what to do. But at the end of the day, I do what I want to do, and you keep paying me money. Yeah, and if you don't give me what I want, then I'll just fuck off and go back to UFC or do something else entirely. Maybe I'll go to AEW or something like that. I'd imagine that Brock Lesnar probably said something like that, even in jest, because it's very unlikely he'd ever go to another promotion. But he's very good at manipulating people.
Oh, I think he would totally go to AEW.
I think so too. As long as
I don't think AEW would pay him that much. And if they do, then they're even more inept with their finances. Actually, Brock Lesnar would be a big draw for AEW. So
yeah,
for AEW,
I would be the only way I would think that doesn't happen is if WWE just goes, we'll give them $50 million to just please don't go. Yeah. Like, just the kind of thing where they're like, we will bankrupt the fuck out of ourselves to make sure that you don't go because it'll hurt our egos too much.
We will kill the XFL dead and give you all the money we were going to spend on it if you...
Yeah, and I honestly think that that's a possibility that could potentially even happen, but...
Yeah.
But what do you guys think is the best case scenario and the worst case scenario for these matches in the Lesnar thing?
Best case scenario for me, in terms of... I think the best case scenario is...
You're clearly going Baron Corbin and Dolph Ziggler walk out as champions, right?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, obviously. To be honest, like, at this point, Dolph Ziggler is way ahead in my estimations than Baron Corbin. So it hasn't taken too long, but Baron Corbin has finally worn me down to the point of I'm hoping that Seth Rollins curbs his face so hard through the mat that he just disappears entirely. He curbs something so hard that he's stuck in the ground in Saudi Arabia and they can't get him out, so they have to fly away without him. That's like, it's getting to that point. But I think...
Look at that heel heat.
Yeah.
Well, he'll be lost to the sands of time at that point.
And that's how they tie it into the next one. Baron Corbin comes back 5 months from now, and it's like, the revenge story.
He's the mummy.
Although I do have to say that Dolph Ziggler is starting to get on my nerves again with the way that he's saying it should have been me. As in, like, but yeah, it's just a case of, I think the best case scenario is for the Kofi Kingston match, Kofi Kingston retains and just keeps going, has a good match with Dolph Ziggler, keeps going on into Stomping Grounds where he faces, I don't know, Randy Orton or Kevin Owens again, something along those lines. And then the best case scenario for the Universal title is that anyone walks away with it that's not Baron Corbin. It could be Seth just retaining, or it could be Lesnar winning it. But either way, as long as Baron Corbin doesn't walk out with the title, then I'm fine with it. Even if it's a case of Corbin wins and then is immediately cashed in on by Brock Lesnar, which I think would be probably the most hilarious thing for me.
For me, best case scenario would be Seth walks out Universal Champion, and I'm going to say Lesnar walks out WWE Champion. I think that they already have it in their minds that they're going to unify the brands. The brand split means nothing. We're already at this like late 2012, 2013 point of the SmackDown title is a mid-card title on Raw, and if they're going to unify the brands, there's no bigger star to do that with than Brock Lesnar. Fox wants Lesnar. This is going to sound really mean, but this is WWE's mentality as they've shown themselves through the years. Kofi has done the fantastic PR trip to Ghana. Kofi is home. He was treated like a star. He was treated like a hero. He can lose that title now. In WWE's eyes, he has served his purpose. And I think at the end of the day, there's money in Lesnar and Roman. And either way you slice it, that's where they're going. I wanted to come on here weeks ago and tease Callum about, Dolph Ziggler's going to fucking walk away champion. It's going to be great. But at this point, Ziggler's probably just going to go away too, because he came in reportedly as a replacement for KO, who didn't want to go to Saudi Arabia. So as happy as I am to see him get this push and see them likely steal the show, it's not like they're really ever going to do anything with Ziggler to begin with.
I mean, this is going to be the best match of the night for sure.
Oh,
Kingston and Ziggler, they work really well together.
Yeah. I mean, also, you couldn't really tease me with the fact that Ziggler's going to potentially win this, because I think Ziggler could have walked into the match with a revolver with 6 bullets in the chamber and he still couldn't beat Kofi Kingston. So, but that's just me, really.
I think they're going to go out there. They're going to show why, hey, fuck this company for sleeping on us for 10 years. This should have been us a long time ago. And I know that's kind of what Ziggler's been saying, but for real, they have that chip on their shoulders. At the end of the day, though, Lesnar is money, and I don't think they want to take it away from Seth. And I also think that they can do the exact same thing with Lesnar on SmackDown and go, well, it's different because it's SmackDown. Raw has a world champion now, you see?
I think that wild card rule is exactly why they're putting the title on Lesnar. Because they're going to, in their minds, even though they're not getting the ratings up, they're going to think, we put the title on Lesnar, that is good, that'll help with the Fox thing, because Lesnar will be our champion for the whole next year, getting into WrestleMania 36. He doesn't have to do a damn thing since this point. And I know that everybody's like, yeah, but he's been popping up a lot since Money in the Bank. Yeah, because they probably ran through everything that they would pay him for up until SummerSlam. And he might not even do anything at SummerSlam. And that's what I'm so worried about. And that's why the worst case scenario for me is Lesnar cashes in and wins either of the championships. Because I don't want that again. I've seen it for like 4 years now. And nothing is different. Nothing is ever different. And there's no reason for me to ever think anything otherwise at this point. The very first title reign that he had, where he wasn't there for a whole lot, then it was like, okay, well, maybe the second time it's going to be different. And it wasn't for 2 years. There's absolutely no reason for me to think that there's going to be any different booking philosophy. So if and when he wins this title, he is going to stop showing up and he's going to wrestle at SummerSlam maybe, and at Survivor Series maybe, and at maybe Royal Rumble and at WrestleMania. And he'll show up like 1 week before that to beat down his opponent or get beaten up by his opponent, whatever. It's the same thing. Paul Heyman will cut these same exact promos that he has cut for 4 years of victimized and brutalized, and my defendant, not my defendant, my client, the reigning defending WWE World Heavyweight Champion. It's the same exact act over and over again. And that's going to be what they go with heading into October. And it's just going to be, okay, well, wild card rule, we can throw Seth Rollins in there, and wouldn't that be interesting? We got Roman Reigns on both shows. Shut up. We have main stars on here, and Kofi got his Ghana trip, and like, so I will tell you right away, if Brock Lesnar wins either of these championships, I'm going to hate this card. I'm going to hate the whole event. And people are going to be like, oh, you're going to crap on the whole thing for that? Yeah.
Remember Crown Jewel?
I have said a phrase that I've heard multiple times before, which is, you could have the best tasting ice cream in the world and all the most amazing toppings, and if you have a turd in it, it's still a shit sundae. And that's the worst case scenario for me. Is I would be more okay with Baron Corbin and Dolph Ziggler winning these titles and dropping them the very next night back to Seth Rollins and Kofi Kingston. As much as I hate hot potato championships, than I will be with any scenario of Brock winning a championship. And I'm also not going to like it if Brock comes out there, attacks everybody, and doesn't cash in. The best case scenario for me is Seth Rollins retains the title, Kofi Kingston retains the title, Brock Lesnar tries to cash in and fails. And it's not happening.
See, here's why I don't think Lesnar failing is the best case scenario. Because then you just wasted the briefcase again.
But you know what? See, that's where the best case scenario is the lesser of a bunch of evils for me. Because I don't want Brock Lesnar as champion, and I don't want Brock Lesnar carrying on this whole storyline for the next 8 months or whatever. That's the thing that I hate. So, as much as I hate the idea of Money in the Bank being wasted, they already fucked that up. Like, you can't go back in time and change that. But at least now they can stop the next year from being a pain in the ass to me. I wouldn't have never given him the Money in the Bank briefcase to begin with. But then again, I never would have been booking Brock Lesnar in the way that they've done it for the past bunch of years. So, if Seth Rollins retains, and if Kofi Kingston retains, and Brock fails to cash in, I'm going to be on cloud 9. If he doesn't cash in, and they just keep lingering, I'm going to be annoyed, but I won't be as annoyed as I will be if Brock wins the title. And no matter how good Kingston and Ziggler is going to be, if Brock comes out and he wins that title, I'm going to be super pissed about it. And it's going to be a low point on Bleacher Report. It'll be like, what a great, amazing match. It shows you that you can have great stuff with people that you don't really push all that much, and you threw it all away by giving it to the guy you give it to every single time. And I do not want to see it.
So what do you think you're going to say?
I think that Seth Rollins is going to retain the title, and Brock Lesnar is going to beat him down and then not cash in. And everybody's going to go, what? Oh, okay, whatever. And then Kofi Kingston's going to retain the title and get cashed in on.
And I think that's going to happen as well.
I'm going to be optimistic and say that he cashes in on Seth. Because frankly, I don't really care if Seth is Universal Champion or not.
So you care more about Kofi? You think Seth has failed?
I don't think Seth has failed, but Kofi is the much better champion out of the two of them. Seth Rollins is maybe the champion of the future, but Kofi Kingston's proven that he's a far better world champion than Seth Rollins could be.
So, all right, I want to just fantasy book for a second. Let's say they go with Callum's plan and he cashes in on Seth. A good way to forget about Lesnar and also work around that is go, we've got the wild card rule, and you got to have a guy like Triple H say this, by the way. And fuck the Universal title anyway. The WWE Championship has 50 years of lineage. If Lesnar wants to take the Universal title and fuck off, that's up to him. The WWE Championship will just be the World Championship. And then you have Lesnar come back like the Royal Rumble, and he can lose at WrestleMania to whoever the WWE Champion is. But that would be a cool way to do it. And I'm just fantasy booking.
if that would be the case, then that's where Clash of Champions comes in, and then they go, okay, well, we're going to merge the titles, and Brock is the champion going into Mania. It's going to boil down to Brock is the champion. At some point, Brock is going to be the champion in October, and he's going to carry it into WrestleMania. It's either he wins the title at Super Showdown and carries it all the way until WrestleMania, or he wins it anywhere between now and October. But he's winning that. He will be champion by the time Clash of Champions is over. And then he's just going to keep it until WrestleMania. And I have no interest in that. And I will Brock Lesnar rule at my whole podcast thing about that. If the championship goes to Brock Lesnar at Super Showdown, I'm not talking about Brock Lesnar. I might step aside and let you guys talk and go and take a piss or something like that. And then come back in 5 minutes later on the podcast to be like, you guys done? I might do that. I really have no interest in talking about Brock if that's the case.
That'd be interesting.
Especially if I'll write up got 3 goddamn articles about it at the same time. But
this is how we slowly take over.
Yeah.
Just let Brock be in charge of it the entire time. Not that I want to take over. It seems far too much work.
Please take over.
For far too little money.
Yeah, please take over.
But yeah, I mean, it's going to be at least interesting to see what happens. There's at least, even if it does end up being as bad as we fear it might be, at least we don't know what's going to happen.
What's really sad?
When
you're saying about taking over, popped in my mind that you were saying about the Dolph Ziggler thing with the revolver, and I'm sitting there going, "Please take over." And what popped in my mind was Ziggler with the gun and me going, "You should have shot me." In a bad headspace. So what were you saying, Rob?
Will this be the best Saudi Arabian show?
If Brock Lesnar cashes in and wins, no.
It would take a lot to be the worst.
And
I don't think anything's going to be worse than Crown Jewel.
I think it'll be the better one out of all 3 so far. Also, fun thought about Lesnar cashing in. Just for the point of continuity, if Corbin were to beat Rollins, and then Strowman were to come down and just fuck up Baron Corbin, and allow Lesnar to beat the crap out of him, and walk away champion, I would laugh.
Oh, if we're talking continuity, Greatest Royal Rumble was, okay, Roman Reigns seemed like he was going to win at WrestleMania, but Brock retained. It seems like he'll probably win a Greatest Royal Rumble, and Brock retained. He left the night with the Universal Championship. Crown Jewel, it was like, oh, you can't possibly give this to Brock. You have to give it to Braun Strowman. And Brock left with the Universal Championship. So, even though he might not leave with the Universal Championship this time, it might be the WWE, that would be 3 events in a row that Saudi Arabia has Brock Lesnar as your champion.
Well, what are you, some kind of continuity script supervisor?
It's almost like I should have that job or something. Well, that is the Pay-Per-Viewpoint prediction side of things for Super Showdown. We will be, of course, breaking down the post-show and recapping everything that's happening on this event on Friday afternoon, Friday night, whenever the case may be. I don't know how long this is scheduled to go, because apparently it tacked on an extra hour onto it, 1 o'clock now, which means I get no sleep on Thursday night, which is fantastic. So I'm already going to be in a salty mood, guaranteed. I apologize in advance for my candor or lack of it on Friday night. But that'll be up on smarkoutmoment.com, the live review and results and different things like that. So when you're over on that site, check out all the other things that are happening on there, like the weekly posts and stuff. Triple Threat will be up ahead of time with a little bit of other thoughts on the Super Showdown. And what else do I have? Other plugs that we didn't do yet. I didn't talk about Fanboys Anonymous. Fanboys Anonymous is my site for the geek culture side of things. So if you want to check out movie reviews and stuff, tomorrow night I will be seeing Dark Phoenix. So that is going to be up with a no review point. I actually had a few minutes to take out of my time to do a predicting the plot for Dark Phoenix. So if you want to know what I think is going to happen in that movie, that's another set of predictions. And I've been writing up some other stuff, and I really kind of want to set aside some more time to do that. And if Brock Lesnar becomes champion, then I'll have more time because I won't want to talk about it. So I'll just be like, hey, fanboys. But that's happening there. So follow all the stuff on fanboysanonymous.com, the Facebook, the Twitter, the YouTube, the iTunes, the Stitcher, the Google Play, the Spotify, all that stuff. Do the same thing with Smark Out Moment. Check out eWrestling News Bleacher Report. Check out the review side of things that we've got coming up with Stomping Grounds when that ends up happening pretty soon. It's just like 2 weeks away or so. Lots of things that are all cooking. So that's what you should be aware of, but that's my plug. It's going to pass this around to Rob.
All right, and if you want to keep up with me, check out Twitter and Instagram at DudeFelice. Check out WrestleZone.com's Facebook page. I'm typically on the WrestleZone Daily, Monday through Friday with Kevin Kellum, where I take listener questions. So it's like the mailbag, but every day of the week. And outside of that, I have TimekillerApparel.com, eWrestling News, which is the site that actually pays me. I should say that first. Yeah, those are all my plugs. And then there's 2001 Wrestling Odyssey, Callum.
Yeah, 2001 A Wrestling Odyssey. You can check those out on the Smark Out Moment channel, whether it's on like the podcast networks or on YouTube. We've got episodes for January, February, March, April, May, and a special on WrestleMania X7 where we dive back in time to the year 2001 and check out the wrestling news and review the shows that were taking place at that point in time. You can
Usually
also
depressing.
Yeah, it's very depressing. It's almost as depressing as it is now, really.
Yeah.
It just shows it doesn't really change in nearly 20 years. But,
Monopolies are bad.
Yeah, monopoly. Yeah, one company's in control of everything. It's bad news. And then you can follow me on Twitter as well at Wigmaster14 and check out this week's Power Rankings, which I might try and hopefully get out earlier than Super Showdown, so I can accommodate Super Showdown in the next set of rankings rather than this one, because that just saves me a lot of time and effort. But other than that, just check out all of that great stuff.
And I think you might be hearing from Callum and I on Sunday, possibly, for Dominion.
Potentially, yes. So
maybe
we're not going to be doing any predictions for it, but we might do a review post show for Dominion if we can get the band together, get the time together to record it, edit it, all that other stuff. But if we can do it, then we will try and do it, because it's got Okada versus Jericho in the main event. I assume Moxley will have some sort of involvement now. He's the IWGP US champion. Got Super Juniors junior heavyweight championship match between Ospreay and
Dragon Lee.
Dragon Lee. So that'll be amazing as well. So
and we'll actually have fun. So
yeah, we'll have a lot more fun than we probably will watching this show.
I will say though, as much as I'm down on this whole Brock Lesnar thing, I am far more excited about Super Showdown than I probably should be. Like, I think that there's some potential here.
Yeah.
And as much as Undertaker Goldberg's going to be 5 minutes of, man, I wish that these guys would have done this 10 years ago. And I'm really worried about the Brock Lesnar thing, and the Triple H and Orton thing has kind of been phoned in, and the Balor thing is kind of like, oh, you spoiled that already, and the Roman Reigns and Shane McMahon thing is kind of bothersome, and, there's lots of issues. Lars Sullivan, I couldn't care less about. I still look at this and I go, we're going to get a 50-man over the top rope battle royal. That's going to be such a fun clusterfuck. Maybe the Balor and Andrade match is one of the best matches. Kingston and Ziggler can be a really great match. Undertaker's entrances are always cool. I love Goldberg's theme. I'm going to be salty, I'm sure, for a lot of it, but hopefully I end up going, no, this isn't that bad, instead of having the title of this be fucking Super Showdown, whatever, like I did with Crown Jewel. But I guess we'll see what happens when it happens. And it's all happening Friday. It starts at 1 p.m. Eastern time zone. That's the kickoff. So join us there. If you want to chat live throughout that, you can chat on smarkoutmoment.com's predictions. Well, you can go on the predictions page, whatever. I don't care. On the live results page, or you can go on Mega Maniacs and join us for the discussion there, or tweet at me, or whatever you want to do. But that's happening then. Until then, we will see you with the other stuff that you check out in the past, and all that stuff's greatly appreciated, everybody. So those likes and stuff go pretty far, and we hope that you liked this edition. Drop your comments below and tell us what you thought. We will see you next time. This has been another Smark Out Moment, And we're being counted out.